सो ऑडियो वीडियो क्वालिटी इज वर्किंग फाइन, काइंडली जल्दी से आप ऑडियो वीडियो क्वालिटी को कंफर्म कर दीजिए। एंड द क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 इट सेज, while the first Nasimum committee focused broadly on structural reforms like reducing the SLR CRR, introduced prudential norms, second Nasimum committee जो थी वो प्रोग्रेस देखने के लिए थी। तो क्या यूनिक रिकमेंडेशन दी थी 1998 की कमेटी ने एड्रेसिंग द हाई एनपीएस इन वीक बैंक्स? तो कौन सा कंसेप्ट था उस चीज से रिलेटेड वो हमने बताना है। और मॉड्यूल डी एंड मॉड्यूल सी से रिलेटेड कंप्लीट पीडीएफ ऑलरेडी मैं प्रोवाइड करवा चुका हूं व्हाट्सएप पे एंड एप्लीकेशन में। सो यू नीड टू डाउनलोड द एप्लीकेशन iibf.info/app पर जाना है और एप्लीकेशन को कर लेना है डाउनलोड। वहां पर आपको पीडीएफ नोट्स मिल जाएंगे और साथ ही साथ आपको व्हाट्सएप करना है हमें राइटिंग IEIFS मॉड्यूल डी मॉड्यूल सी पीडीएफ। मैं आपको मॉड्यूल डी की 17 चैप्टर्स की पीडीएफ और मॉड्यूल सी की 9 चैप्टर्स की पीडीएफ कंप्लीट भेज दूंगा। और अगर आपको मॉड्यूल बी की पीडीएफ भी चाहिए तो जल्दी से व्हाट्सएप कर दीजिए। व्हाट्सएप का नंबर है 8360944207। क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 पर वापस आते हैं। सो इट सेज नैरो बैंकिंग से रिलेटेड था, या फिर यूनिवर्सल बैंकिंग से रिलेटेड ये रिफॉर्म था, या फिर एसेट रिकंस्ट्रक्शन फंड से रिलेटेड था, या फिर डिफरेंशियल बैंकिंग से रिलेटेड था। सो व्हाट वाज द रिफॉर्म इट वाज अबाउट? सो इट वाज अबाउट द नैरो बैंकिंग। सो 1998 में नरसिम्हम कमेटी 2 जो थी उसने रिपोर्ट ने स्पेसिफिकली प्रपोज किया कि नैरो बैंकिंग कंसेप्ट लेकर के आओ। क्यों? क्योंकि एक स्ट्रेटेजी थी जहां पर जो वीक पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स हैं, जो स्ट्रगल कर रहे हैं, जिनके पास एनपीए काफी ज्यादा है, नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट काफी ज्यादा है, उनको सजेस्ट किया कि आप अपने लेंडिंग जो है उसको रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर दो और फंड जो है सिर्फ रिस्क फ्री गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज में प्लेस करो। सो दैट वाज अबाउट द कंसेप्ट जो लेकर के आया गया था, एक रिकमेंडेशन था। सो दैट वाज द ऑप्शन ए। सो ऑप्शन ए विल बी द करेक्ट आंसर। ठीक है जी। तो नरसिम्हम कमेटी 2 ने ये रिफॉर्म कहा था। क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 पर चलते हैं। अंडर द गाइडलाइंस फॉर द डिफरेंशियल बैंक्स, both small finance banks and the payment banks have specified operational paths. If a payment bank managed by Mr. Virat Kohli gains significant traction and wishes to convert into SFB, what specific condition must it meet? तो कौन सी स्पेसिफिक कंडीशन को मीटअप करना पड़ेगा? दैट वी नीड टू टेल। यानी कि कोई पेमेंट बैंक है और उसे कन्वर्ट करना है एसएफबी में, तो कौन सी कंडीशन को मीटअप करना पड़ेगा? दैट वी नीड टू आंसर। ऑप्शंस आपके सामने हैं, जल्दी से आंसर पोस्ट करें। मिनिमम नेटवर्थ रिक्वायरमेंट से रिलेटेड है, या फिर इन्वेस्टमेंट इन गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज के साथ रिलेटेड है, या फिर लाइसेंस सरेंडर से रिलेटेड है, या फिर 5 ईयर ऑपरेशनल रिक्वायरमेंट से रिलेटेड है। काइंडली डू पोस्ट द आंसर्स एट द अर्लीस्ट। जल्दी से जल्दी आंसर पोस्ट करें एंड मैक्सिमम टू मैक्सिमम पार्टिसिपेट करें सो दैट यू कैन लर्न बेटर। जल्दी से जल्दी आंसर भी कीजिएगा एंड पार्टिसिपेट भी करें क्वेश्चंस में, आंसर को पोस्ट जरूर करें। सो इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि पेमेंट बैंक से रिलेटेड है, सो गाइडलाइन एक्सप्लिसिटली कहती है, क्या कहती है गाइडलाइंस? डेट अगर कोई बैंक जो है रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया की डिफरेंशियल बैंकिंग में पार्टिसिपेट करना है और पेमेंट बैंक अप्लाई कर सकता है कन्वर्जन के लिए, किसके लिए? कि स्मॉल फाइनेंस बैंक में कन्वर्ट करना है, लेकिन कम से कम उसे ऑपरेशंस में 5 साल हो गए हो। मिनिमम 5 ऑपरेशनल ईयर्स हो जाने चाहिए। ठीक है, यानी कि जो बाकी की चीजें हैं वो तो चाहिए ही चाहिए, लेकिन पेमेंट बैंक के लिए तभी अप्लाई कर सकता है एसएफबी में अगर उसको 5 साल ऑपरेशन में हो चुके हैं। सो अकॉर्डिंगली आंसर जो रहेगा दैट इज गोइंग टू बी द ऑप्शन डी। सो ऑप्शन डी इज गोइंग टू बी द करेक्ट आंसर। फाइल का नेम साथ में मेंशन किया गया है बॉटम लेफ्ट कॉर्नर पर, तो यू कैन बी चेकिंग द क्वेश्चन आंसर की क्वेश्चन कहां से कौन से चैप्टर से साथ के साथ कवर किए जा रहे हैं। सो मेक श्योर करना कि वीडियो को गो थ्रू करना, इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन हमने कवर किए हैं इस वीडियो में। चलिए अभी चलते हैं क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 की तरफ। अ कमर्शियल बैंक इन द कोर्स ऑफ इट्स बिजनेस एक्वायर्स एन इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी फ्रॉम अ बोरोवर। तो एक बोरोवर से एक इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी को गेन करते हैं, होल्ड कर लेते हैं। मिस्टर ऋषभ पंत है एंड हु डिफॉल्टेड ऑन अ लोन, जिन्होंने लोन के ऊपर कर लिया डिफॉल्ट। एज पर द सेक्शन 9 ऑफ द बैंकिंग रेगुलेशन एक्ट, व्हाट इज द बैंक्स ऑब्लिगेशन रिगार्डिंग दिस नॉन बैंकिंग एसेट? तो इस नॉन बैंकिंग एसेट को लेकर के क्या गाइडलाइंस है, क्या यहां पर ऑब्लिगेशन रहेगी बैंक की? दैट वी नीड टू आंसर। ऑप्शन 8 सेज the bank can hold the property indefinitely provided it is used for the future branch expansion. The branch The bank must dispose of the property within a period of 7 years from its acquisition, a period which RBI may extend by additional 5 years. या फिर the bank must sell the property within 12 months, as holding non-banking assets is strictly prohibited for more than 1 year. The bank can hold the property for maximum of 7 years, after which it must be transferred to the Depositor Education and Awareness Fund. So which one would be the correct answer for this? आंसर क्या रहने वाला है इस क्वेश्चन का, जल्दी से जल्दी पोस्ट कीजिएगा. सो सी, सिंपल सा फंडा है कि जो सेक्शन 9 है ना बैंकिंग रेगुलेशन एक्ट का, वो क्या करता है, वो प्रोहिबिट करता है कि कोई भी बैंकिंग कंपनी वेदर एज ए प्लेजी, मॉर्गेजी और एब्सोल्यूट ऑनर 7 साल से ज्यादा समय के लिए नहीं कर सकता, होल्ड नहीं कर सकता. ठीक है, होल्ड नहीं कर सकता. और आरबीआई के पास पावर है कि फर्दर उस पीरियड को 5 साल तक आगे एक्सटेंड कर सकता है इफ आरबीआई फाइंड्स इट ऑल राइट. अदरवाइज सिर्फ अपने खुद के पर्पस के लिए प्रॉपर्टी को होल्ड करना है तो बैंक होल्ड कर सकता है, अपने खुद के ब्रांच के पर्पस के लिए मेरे प्रॉपर्टी को होल्ड करना है तो कर सकता है, अदरवाइज होल्ड नहीं कर सकता. ठीक है, तो अगर बैंक ने एक्वायर किया प्रॉपर्टी को तो उसे छोड़ना पड़ेगा. तो आंसर इज ऑप्शन डी. ऑप्शन डी, सॉरी ऑप्शन बी जो है, ऑप्शन बी जो है दैट इज द करेक्ट आंसर. आई मार्क द रॉन्ग आंसर, अदरवाइज मैंने पहले सही बताया था आंसर तो. ठीक है, तो ऑप्शन बी जो है दैट इज द करेक्ट आंसर. चलिए क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 पर चलते हैं. सेवरल डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस केटर टू स्पेसिफिक सेक्टर्स. बहुत सी डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं जो स्पेसिफिक सेक्टर्स को डील करती हैं, राइट. एंड बेसिकली बात ये कही है कि while SIDBI's primary mandate is to be the principal financial institution for the MSME sector, the National Bank for Financing Agriculture and Development, established in 2021, right, and has a different focus. What is the core objective of NABFID? तो NABFID का कोर ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है, डेट वी नीड टू आंसर. ठीक है, तो उसके बारे में हमने बताना है. ऑप्शन 8 सेज टू प्रोवाइड शॉर्ट टर्म वर्किंग कैपिटल, कि जो शॉर्ट टर्म वर्किंग कैपिटल है वो प्रोवाइड करनी है फॉर द लार्ज, फॉर टू द लार्ज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कंपनीज. जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कंपनीज है उनको शॉर्ट टर्म वर्किंग कैपिटल प्रोवाइड करनी है. या फिर हाउसिंग सेक्टर फाइनेंस रिलेटेड है, to refinance loans extended by the commercial banks to the हाउसिंग सेक्टर, उस पर्पस के लिए NABFID है. या फिर ये है फॉर द टू एक्ट एज अ प्रिंसिपल DFI, जो आपके पास डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन है, एक प्रिंसिपल DFI राइट करेगी फॉर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फाइनेंसिंग सपोर्टिंग द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ लॉन्ग टर्म इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स. ऑप्शन डी, to coordinate the functions of all other DFIs including SIDBI, NABARD, NHB under one umbrella. So which is a core function of NABFID? What is the core function of the NABFID? Kindly do answer at the earliest. साथ के साथ पोस्ट कीजिएगा आंसर सो डेट यू कैन लर्निंग द कंसेप्ट. लर्निंग को आपने अगर एक पॉइंट पर लेके जाना है तो आपको साथ के साथ उनका आंसर करना चाहिए. सो NABFID का फुल फॉर्म मैंने आपको ऑलरेडी बता दिया, नेशनल बैंक फॉर फाइनेंसिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड डेवलपमेंट है. एंड इसको स्टैब्लिश किया गया था नेशनल बैंक फॉर फाइनेंसिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड डेवलपमेंट एक्ट 2021 के एक्टर, जिसको पास किया गया था 2021 में पार्लियामेंट में. ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है, एक स्पेशलिस्ट डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन है ताकि जो लॉन्ग टर्म नॉन रिकोर्स इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फाइनेंसिंग है इंडिया में उसको प्रोवाइड किया जा सके, और साथ के साथ एक मार्केट को डेवलप करना है फॉर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बॉन्ड्स एंड द रिलेटेड इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, राइट. एंड रेगुलेशन एंड सुपरविजन जो होती है वो रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया के द्वारा होती है एज AIFI, यानी कि ऑल इंडिया फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन की तरह. दैट इज अ बेसिक. तो ऑप्शन कौन सी सही रहेगी? ऑप्शन इज सी. सी ऑप्शन, दैट इज दिस इज अ प्रिंसिपल DFI फॉर द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. इट इज अ प्रिंसिपल DFI फॉर द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. कि NABFID को सेटअप किया गया था एक प्रिंसिपल डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन के लिए ताकि जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फाइनेंसिंग है उसको बढ़ावा दिया जा सके. एंड रोल यही है कि ये एड करता है डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द लॉन्ग टर्म इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फाइनेंसिंग, एड करता है ये लॉन्ग टर्म इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फाइनेंसिंग से रिलेटेड. ठीक है जी. सो ऑप्शन सी जो है दैट इज गोइंग टू बी द करेक्ट आंसर. नाउ लेट्स मूव टुवर्ड द क्वेश्चन नंबर 5. काइंडली डू मेंशन द क्वेश्चन नंबर अलोंग विद इट. क्वेश्चन नंबर साथ में जरूर मेंशन कीजिएगा. सो क्वेश्चन नंबर 5 इट सेज द RBI's 2022 framework for microfinance loans. RBI's 2022 framework for the microfinance loans introduced a crucial cap on the loan repayment obligation. तो एक क्रूशियल कैप लगा दी लोन रिपेमेंट ऑब्लिगेशन से रिलेटेड ऑफ अ हाउसहोल्ड एंड इट स्टेट्स दैट टोटल रिपेमेंट ऑब्लिगेशन कैन नॉट एक्सीड 50% ऑफ द total of the monthly household income. How is this 50% limit calculated by the regulated entity? तो ये जो 50% इनकम है ये किस तरह से कैलकुलेट होती है, डेट वी नीड टू आंसर. तो आरबीआई का 2022 का फ्रेमवर्क है माइक्रो फाइनेंस लोन को लेकर के, उसमें एक कैप लगाई गई थी कि जो लोन रिपेमेंट ऑब्लिगेशन है एक हाउस होल्ड की उससे रिलेटेड इस कैप में कहा गया था कि जो टोटल रिपेमेंट ऑब्लिगेशन है वो मंथली हाउस होल्ड इनकम का 50% से ज्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए. तो ये 50% लिमिट की कैलकुलेशन कैसे होती है? ऑल आउटस्टैंडिंग लोन्स उनको गो थ्रू किया जाता है या फिर जो सिर्फ नए लोन्स है उनको काउंट किया जाता है, स्पेसिफिक एमएफआई लोन्स को ही काउंट किया जाता है, या एनुअल इनकम कैलकुलेशन की जाती है? व्हाट इट इज डन. सो व्हाट विल बी द आंसर? आंसर क्या रहेगा इसके लिए कि जितने भी लोन है सभी को काउंट किया जाता है. गाइडलाइन क्लियर करती हैं कि जो लिमिट रहेगी मैक्सिमम 50% ऑफ द टोटल हाउस होल्ड इनकम. तो क्रूशली जो कंप्यूटेशन कंपोनेंट रहेगा ना इसमें जितने भी आउटस्टैंडिंग लोन्स हैं हाउस होल्ड के उनको शामिल किया जाएगा, उन सभी को शामिल किया जाएगा. सो आंसर इज ऑप्शन ए. ऑप्शन ए जो है दैट इज द करेक्ट आंसर. ऑप्शन ए इज द करेक्ट आंसर है कि सभी के सभी जितने भी आउटस्टैंडिंग लोन्स हैं उनको शामिल हम करेंगे. नाउ लेट्स मूव टुवर्ड द क्वेश्चन नंबर 6. इट सेज द आरबीआई's स्केल बेस्ड रेगुलेशन. आरबीआई की जो स्केल बेस्ड रेगुलेशन फ्रेमवर्क है कैटेगराइजेस एनबीएफसीज इनटू 4 लेयर्स, 4 लेयर्स है. An NBFC managed by Mr. Kane Williamson is a non-deposit taking company. Non-deposit taking company है, does not issue P2P lending and is not an account aggregator. और account aggregator भी नहीं है, P2P भी नहीं है और deposit नहीं ले रही है. Asset size दिया गया है 1100 करोड़ का. Under the scale based regulation SBR framework, which layer would this NBFC most likely fall into? तो कौन सी लेयर को ये बिलोंग करेगा, डेट वी नीड टू आंसर कि ये एनबीएफसी जो है वो कौन सी लेयर में हम कैटेगराइज करेंगे. इट बी द बेस लेयर, मिडल लेयर, अपर लेयर और द टॉप लेयर? व्हाट वुड बी द करेक्ट आंसर? क्वेश्चन नंबर 6 इट इज. मेक श्योर कि जल्दी से आंसर्स का क्वेश्चन का आंसर जरूर करें, पोस्ट जरूर करें. सो एक आंसर यहां पर आया है ऑप्शन सी. आई डोंट नो कि क्वेश्चन का नंबर ये कौन सा मेंशन कर रहे हैं बिकॉज मोहित इज नॉट मेंशनिंग द क्वेश्चन नंबर राइट नाउ बट ही हैज आंसर्ड ऑप्शन सी. आंसर हियर इज ऑप्शन बी. मिडल ईयर में जितनी भी डिपॉजिट टेकिंग एनबीएफसीज होती हैं इरिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द साइज वो आती है मिडल ईयर में, पहली बात. और जो नॉन डिपॉजिट टेकिंग एनबीएफसीज हैं जिनका एसेट साइज 1000 करोड़ से ज्यादा है, सो इफ द एसेट साइज इज ग्रेटर देन, ठीक है, दैट इज बेसिकली विद एन एसेट साइज ऑफ रुपीज 1000 करोड़ और मोर, राइट. अगर 1000 करोड़ से ज्यादा है, ग्रेटर देन और इक्वल टू 1000 सीआर है, तो चाहे वो नॉन डिपॉजिट टेकिंग है दैट विल बी प्लेस्ड अंडर द मिडल लेयर एनबीएफसी. उसे मिडल लेयर एनबीएफसी में डाला जाएगा अगर अदरवाइज आपको क्लासिफिकेशन नहीं दी गई है. तो ऑप्शन बी इज द करेक्ट आंसर. ऑप्शन बी विल बी द करेक्ट आंसर. Now let's move toward the next question. The Insurance Act 1938 includes several provisions. तो बहुत सी provisions हैं इसमें, right, to regulate the conduct of insurers and the agents. Section 19 of the act under the prohibition for rebates. जो prohibition for rebates है, strictly forbid offering of any rebate of commission or premium to induce a person to take insurance policy. Right? What is the penalty prescribed under the act for a person found guilty of this? अगर कहा जाता है कि उसने कमीशन ली है, प्रीमियम ली है, राइट, तो उसके केस में क्या पेनल्टी लगेगी उसके ऊपर? अ फाइन अप टू ₹5 लाख एंड इम्प्रिजनमेंट ऑफ 1 ईयर, या फिर लाइसेंस रिवोकेशन फॉर द एजेंट एंड अ फाइन अप टू ₹10,000, या फिर अ फाइन अप टू ₹1,000 या फाइन अप टू ₹500. व्हाट वुड बी द केस? तो क्या नुकसान पड़ेगा, क्या पेनल्टी लग जाएगी, डेट वी नीड टू आंसर. क्वेश्चन सिंपल सा है एंड डाटा से रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन है. सो आई वांट कि आप पार्टिसिपेट करें एंड आंसर जरूर पोस्ट करें. सो क्वेश्चन में ये पूछा गया है स्पेसिफिकली कि बहुत से वैसे तो प्रोविजन है कंडक्ट को लेकर के इंश्योरेंस के एजेंट्स के, लेकिन ये कहा गया है कि अंडर द प्रोविजन ऑफ प्रोहिबिशन ऑफ रिबेट्स, वो स्ट्रिक्टली प्रोहिबिट करता है कि कोई भी रिबेट अगर दी जाती है कमीशन के ऊपर या प्रीमियम के ऊपर, ताकि पर्सन को इंड्यूस किया जा सके कि वो इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी ले ले, तो उसके केस में पेनल्टी लगती है। दैट पेनल्टीज ऑफ व्हाट अमाउंट? तो कोई भी पर्सन अगर डिफॉल्ट करता है, जो कंप्लाई नहीं करता है, उस केस में फाइन पड़ सकता है। तो पहले इस चीज को कवर किया गया था अंडर सेक्शन 19, लेकिन अब इसमें एक मॉडिफिकेशन है। नाउ दिस इज कवर्ड अंडर सेक्शन 41। नाउ इसके साथ रिलेटेड जो प्रोविजंस हैं, ठीक है, अब करंट एक्ट जो है सेक्शन 41 को यूज करता है प्रोहिबिशन ऑफ रिबेट्स को लेकर के। एंड पहले ये फाइन जो था डेट वाज 500 रुपीज, लेकिन अब ये 500 रुपीज नहीं है। नाउ दिस इज अप टू रुपीज 10 लाख, 10 लाख तक का फाइन हो सकता है। सो यहां पर अपडेट है ऑप्शन डी, अपडेट कर रहा हूं कि 10 लाख तक का फाइन जो है वो हो सकता है अगर रिबेट देने के नाम पर जो पॉलिसी है वो थोपी जाती है। ठीक है, तो अपडेट है यहां पर, ऑप्शन डी विल बी द करेक्ट आंसर। सो आई एम राइटिंग ओवर हियर ताकि आपको याद रहे दैट दिस क्वेश्चन इज कवरिंग एन अपडेट। नाउ लेट्स मूव टुवर्ड द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन। सेबी बहुत से फंक्शंस को परफॉर्म करती है। सेबी परफॉर्म्स सेवरल फंक्शंस टू मैनेज द सिक्योरिटीज मार्केट, broadly categorized as protective, regulatory, and developmental function. A key protective function is the prohibition of insider trading. How is insider trading defined and why does it fall under the protective category? और protective category में क्यों fall करती है? Option 8 says it is act of buying and selling securities by company insiders and is protective because it ensures insiders do not gain an unfair advantage over the public. Option A. Option B, it says it is an act of auditing stock exchange, which is protective because it ensures the exchanges themselves are not cheating investors. Option C, it is act of causing unnatural price fluctuations, which is protective because it prevents market crashes. Option D, it is an act of training intermediaries, which is protective because it ensures investors are dealing with the qualified professionals. So which one would be the correct answer for the question number 8th? So 8th question के लिए which one would be the correct answer? It is इनसाइडर ट्रेडिंग। क्या रहती है कि आप जो इनसाइड इंफॉर्मेशन है उसका बेनिफिट ले रहे हो, पब्लिक के पास में इंफॉर्मेशन अवेलेबल नहीं है। ठीक है, तो ऑप्शन जो ए है दैट इज एब्सोल्युटली द करेक्ट आंसर। ऑप्शन ए इज एब्सोल्युटली द करेक्ट आंसर, right? So that's about the insider trading. Now let's move toward the question number 9. The National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited, NARCL, was established. NARCL को establish किया गया, right? So it says the National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited, NARCL, was established to acquire stressed assets from the banks. When NARCL acquires, जब NARCL acquire करती है in bad loans को, it does not pay full amount in cash. What is the two-part mechanism used by NARCL to compensate the banks for the assets? तो टू पार्ट पेमेंट सिस्टम क्या रहता है? 50% अपफ्रंट कैश पेमेंट एंड 50% बॉन्ड्स, 100% सिक्योरिटी रिसिप्ट्स, 50% 15% कैश, 85% सिक्योरिटी रिसिप्ट्स, या 85% कैश, 15% सिक्योरिटी रिसिप्ट्स। व्हाट वुड बी द आंसर? क्वेश्चन नंबर 9, व्हाट विल बी द आंसर? क्या कंपोजिशन रहता है जब अमाउंट पे ऑफ किया जाता है, तो कंपोजिशन क्या रहता है? इट इज लाइक 85% जो है वो सिक्योरिटी रिसीट्स रहती हैं, 15% अपफ्रंट पेमेंट की जाती है। स्ट्रेस्ड एसेट जो एक्वायर किए रहते हैं, 15% अपफ्रंट कैश पेमेंट एंड 85% जो है वो सिक्योरिटी रिसीट की फॉर्म में रहता है। सो ऑप्शन ए इज एब्सोल्युटली द करेक्ट आंसर, सॉरी ऑप्शन सी इज द करेक्ट आंसर। ऑप्शन सी इज एब्सोल्युटली द करेक्ट आंसर। नाउ लेट्स मूव टुवर्ड द 10th क्वेश्चन। The development of Indian financial system is divided into 4 phases. Phase 4, the post-global financial crisis, 2010 to present era, right? was marked by several key initiatives. Which of the following sets of reforms best defines the specific phase? तो बेस्ट डिफाइन स्पेसिफिक फेज कौन सा था? फेज 4 में. In the case of phase 4, what was the best described no function reform it was? Option A, nationalization and DFI development. क्या ये नेशनलाइजेशन और डीएफआई डेवलपमेंट से रिलेटेड था? देखो, नेशनलाइजेशन जो हुई थी आरबीआई की 1948 में हुई थी, एसबीआई की 1955 में हुई थी. एंड if we're talking about establishment of the DFIs like NABARD or SIDBI, तो if I talk in detail, right, तो वो भी सही नहीं है. तो वो भी सही नहीं है. ठीक है, दैट ऑल अकर्ड इन द फेज 2. पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस फेज में हुआ था 1947 से लेकर के 1991 तक का जो फेज था, दैट वाज अ पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस फेज, राइट. तो उसमें ये चीजें हुई थी. ऑप्शन ए तो करेक्ट नहीं है. अच्छा, ऑप्शन बी क्या है? इट सेज licensing of differential banks, payment banks, small finance banks, and the operationalization of the IBC, insolvency and bankruptcy code. क्या ये सब चीजें हुई थी? यस, दोज थिंग्स वर देयर. तो पे जो फोर्थ फेज था पोस्ट जीएफसी जो फेज है, राइट, लाइसेंसिंग हुई डिफरेंशिएटेड बैंक्स की, ऑपरेशनलाइजेशन हुआ आईबीसी, एंड जो जैम ट्राइनिटी है, जो जैम ट्राइनिटी है, that was also leveraged, that was also leveraged, right. So these all occurred in the fourth phase, GFC to till now, like 2010 to till now, ये सब चीजें तब हुई हैं. So answer is option B. Option B is answer. But if we talk about the nationalization and the DFI, that's related to the post-independence phase. Second phase से related है. This is related to second phase, right? This is somewhat related to fourth phase. ये fourth phase के साथ related है. यही पूछा गया था. That was what that was asked in the question. Option C, the recommendations of the Narsimham Committee 1, including the reduction of SLR, CRR, and the deregulation of the interest rate. Now that is actually related to the third phase. So this one is related to third phase from 1990, let's say 1 to 2009, right? So that was the third phase, 1991 to 2010, we can say, right? So these were the reforms related to phase 3. And what about the option D? BSC establishment, bank failures, that occurred when? Like establishment of the Bombay Stock Exchange 1875, that is pre-independence phase. Like pre-independence phase means this is related to phase 1. Clear hai? Is it all clear to you? No. Let's move toward the next question. Question number 11. A bank which is led by Mr. Dhoni, MS Dhoni, is designated as a scheduled bank. This status is granted by the Reserve Bank of India under the RBI Act 1934. What is the primary operational advantage this bank gains by being included in the second schedule? What will be the advantage for the bank? That we need to answer. So if you know the answer, kindly do post the answers at the earliest. So the JAIIB full crash courses are available. The PDF files are available. You can download the PDF files. So do join us right now because the offer is going on where the complete crash course is available for just 1699. So you need to WhatsApp me writing JAIIB 1699 and I'll be giving the crash course of all the 4 papers. And still you're having the hope and the time so as to clear the exam. You need to cover the 2 modules primarily, module C and module D, right? Now let's have a look at the options. It becomes eligible to borrow from Reserve Bank of India and bank rate and gains membership in the clearing houses. Absolutely, that's a part. Now, if the bank is a scheduled bank, then they can definitely be borrowing from the Reserve Bank of India at the bank rate. That's the first thing. And definitely they can obtain the membership in the clearing houses, right? So this is a key advantage over the non-scheduled banks. Non-scheduled banks do not have this advantage, right? So option A is absolutely correct. Option A right away is the correct answer. What is the option B? It says it is exempted from maintaining the CRR. Is it so? No. All the scheduled commercial banks are to maintain the CRR. Are the non-scheduled banks to maintain the CRR? Answer yes or no. क्या non-scheduled banks को CRR maintain करना पड़ता है? Do the non-scheduled banks need to maintain the CRR? Answer is yes. Whether it is scheduled, whether it is non-scheduled, they have to maintain the CRR. That is to be done. So option B is not correct. Lower capital requirement, is it so? That's not the case. Non-fund based lending permission, no, that's not the case. Now let's move toward the question number 12. Now you all need to answer. You need to answer and participate, right? Section 19 of the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934 outlines that the business that the Reserve Bank cannot transact, ensuring it remains a central bank and not a commercial entity. Which of the following activities is the Reserve Bank of India explicitly prohibited from engaging in? What activity cannot be performed by the Reserve Bank of India that we need to answer? Accepting the government deposits. Can the Reserve Bank of India accept the government deposits? Can it accept the? This is permitted. This is actually permitted. Reserve Bank of India can accept the deposits without the interest from the government and the banks. That's allowed, right? Without paying the interest, they can accept the deposit. This is correct. Option B, purchasing and selling foreign exchange to manage the currency stability. That's also allowed. That's basically allowed, right? So that's also allowed. Option C, lending to commercial banks. Is it allowed? Yes. This is permitted under the section 17 itself. That allows basically Reserve Bank of India to grant the loans to the banks. That's allowed. Option D, it says allowing interest on deposits or current accounts. Allowing deposits. So section 19 explicitly prohibits Reserve Bank of India that they cannot be allowing the interest rate on deposit of the current accounts. Right? Because it's a non-commercial bankers bank. It is non-commercial bankers bank. So this is explicitly not allowed under section 19 of the RBI Act. It's not allowed. Right? Now, let's move toward the question number 13th. Export Import Bank of India. That is the Exim Bank. Which bank? Export Import Bank of India provides both products and services. While buyer's credit is a financial product, the bank also offers advisory services. Which service group is responsible for a promotional role to create and enhance export capabilities and international competitiveness of Indian companies? Right? That we need to answer. First of all, let me just give you a brief about the Exim Bank, that what it is all about. As I told you, the full form it is Export Import Bank of India, right? Export Import Bank of India, and it was established under the Exim Bank Act 1981, right? And it was passed by the Parliament, and it started its operations from the 1982, right? And this is wholly owned by the Government of India, and is specifically functioning, which is dedicated to export import financing, right? So that's the case. So it provides support to the exporter and importers. It offers the finance for the export productions. It serves as a nodal agency for the export credit, and also it facilitates the India's use of lines of credit, right? It basically facilitates Indians so as to use a line of credit. That's all being done by the Exim Bank. Now we are going to talk about that. We were talking about which service group is responsible for promotional role. So whether it is related to BCG or RAG or MAS or EAS, what it would be. So clearly it is market advisory services. Option C is going to be the correct answer. Option C is going to be the correct answer here. Now question number 14th. SHG bank linkage program operates on three distinct models. There are three distinct models for the self-help group bank linkage program, BLP we say. A bank led by Mr. Pat Cummins decides to provide financing to self-help group. So bank is going to provide the finance directly to the self-help group, right? It does this by first lending funds to a local NGO. So it never basically directly funded the SHG, but it funded the local NGO, right? And then the NGO will be on lending the money to the self-help group. Which of the three linkage model is this that we need to answer? Model 1 NABARD Bank SHG, Model 2 NABARD Bank SHG with NGO as facilitator, Model 1 revised. Yeah, then it's related to Model 3 NABARD Bank NGO SHG with as financial intermediary. right? So which one is going to be the correct answer? Clearly it indicates that the option D is going to be the correct answer because it's following the model third model it is. So there are three models. There are three models specifically if you're talking about. If you're talking about the option A, model one, now that basically involves the bank will be financing directly to the SHG. Bank will be financing directly to the SHG. That is the model one. And if you're talking about the option B, that the model 2, that's the most popular model. Now that basically involves the NGO as a facilitator that will be promoting the SHG. There will be an NGO which will be facilitating the SHG. It will be linking it to the bank, but the bank still finances the SHG directly. Hand holding will be done by the NGO, but bank will be financing directly to the SHG, right? And model 3, this is not the case. Model 3, where the funds will go like, and bank will be financing the NGO and the NGO will be on lending to the SHG. So that was being asked in the question. So option D is the correct answer. Option D is the correct answer. Is it clear? Now, let's move toward the question number 15. An NBFC led by Mr. Joe Root is being assessed for its classification. It has an asset size of 150 crore. Upon inspection, it is found that 95% of its total assets are investments in the equity shares, preference shares, loans in its group companies. Furthermore, 70% of its total assets are specifically investments in equity shares and of these companies. So there is NBFC which has primarily invested into the equity shares, into the preference shares, right? And for the investments, right, that is being done, being classified, that being assessed here. Furthermore, 70% of its total share assets are specifically investments in equity shares of these group companies. How would this NBFC be classified? So this, it would be the IFC or CIC or asset finance company or the NBFC MFI. Which one it would be? So we're talking about the option A. IFC basically needs to deploy at least 75% of its assets in the infrastructure loans. In case of IFC, 75% of its assets in the infrastructure loans that is to be done, then it will be said to be IFC. So option A is not correct. Core investment company. Is it so? Yes, it is a core investment company because NBFC meets the criteria that's required for the CIC. Because it should be holding not less than 90% of the total assets in the investments in the group companies. And the scenario over here is 95%. It is required as 90% only. And here it is 95%. And the second one is related to investment in equity shares in group companies should not be less than 60%. And here in this scenario, it is 70%. It should not be less than 60%. All right. And its asset size must be 100 crore or above. And here it is 150 crore. Otherwise, it is 100 crore or above. Right. So it is meeting all the criteria related to CIC. So option B is absolutely the correct answer. So option B, that it is a CIC, core investment company, that is absolutely right. Okay. Now let's move toward the option C, asset finance company. No, asset finance companies' principal business is financing the physical assets like automobiles, tractors, etc. Right? So that's not related to the funda over here. And option D, it says MFI. MFI must be having at least 75% of its asset as a microfinance loans. So 75% of the loans must be the MFI loans, then will be classified as MFI, otherwise not. Are you clear with the questions so far? If you're liking the questions, liking and learning the concepts, kindly do give this a video a like and thumbs up. And do share the video with your friends and colleagues who are preparing for JAIIB. Right? I have already shared the PDFs for Module D and Module C in complete. Module D is covering 17 chapters. That's a conceptual PDF that I have shared. And Module C is covering 9 chapters. If you want to get the same PDF, you need to join the WhatsApp channel. I'm going to share the link in the chat box. Just kindly do visit the channel and join there, and I'll be sharing the PDF file link again, right? So, and also you need to download the application iibf.info/app. Now let's move toward the next question, number 16. The e-insurance account system launched by IRDA allows policyholders to maintain all their policies in a single electronic account. A policyholder, Mr. Steve Smith, opens one such account. Which of the following statements accurately reflect the rules of these accounts? Right. So we need to tell that which of the following is saying that these rules are there in this case of e-insurance account. A policyholder can open multiple e-insurance accounts, one with each of the 5 licensed insurance repositories. Is it so? We'll be answering, but just answer the question on earliest, right? Option B, the e-insurance account is used for both holding policies electronically and for selling new insurance policies directly to the public. Option C, policyholder is allowed to open only one e-insurance account and this account is offered free of cost. Option D, the e-insurance account holder cannot appoint an authorized representative as the account is non-transferable. So which one would be the correct answer for these options? Which one is the correct answer? It is option C. Option C is the correct one. That only one account is allowed and the account is free of cost. What about the option A? See, explicitly this is contradicting with the same. A person cannot be opening the multiple accounts. That's not allowed, right? Holding and selling the policy. Is it so? Is it allowed? No. Insurance repositories cannot sell the insurance policies. That cannot be done. So option B is also not correct. Option D, if we say that insurance account holder cannot appoint authorized representative, it is false. Insurance account holder can appoint an authorized representative to operate the account in case of their demise or incapability. That is actually allowed. It's not the case, it's not allowed. It's actually allowed here. Right? Now, let's move toward the question number 17. 17th question. RBI uses various direct and indirect instruments to execute its monetary policy. Two of these are the bank rate and the repo rate. Based on the document's definition, what is the fundamental difference between these two? What is the fundamental difference between these two? Option A, repo rate is when bank borrows money by selling securities to the Reserve Bank of India. Bank rate is a standard rate at which RBI is prepared to buy or rediscount the bills of exchange. Option B says repo rate is a qualitative tool used for moral suasion, right? And bank rate is a quantitative tool for open market operations. Option C, repo rate is a rate for overnight loans, while bank rate is a long-term loans, 5 years or more. Repo rate is used to control inflation and bank rate is used to manage the liquidity. What would be the correct answer? Question number 17 it is. Which one would be the correct answer for question number 17? Now, let's go option by option. Option A is absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. That's actually done. Like repo rate is something, let's say, bank is placing surplus securities with the Reserve Bank of India SGL account, right? So as to basically have a offer that they is going to repurchase them after a fixed time period or at a fixed price, right? And the RBI provides a liquidity to the bank. That's the repo rate. Absolutely correct. And the bank rate is a standard rate at which Reserve Bank of India discounts the bill of exchange or rediscounts, right? So that's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. Option B, repo rate is qualitative. Is it so? See, both are quantitative. Whether we are talking about the bank rate or the repo rate, both are quantitative and not qualitative. So option B is not correct. Repo rate is a rate for overnight loans. Is that true? See, the key difference lies in mechanism. That key difference lies in mechanism, right? Option D, repo rate is used to control the inflation. See, both are basically controlled so as to manage the liquidity and so as to control the inflation. Both can be used. Like under the LAF, liquidity adjustment facility, repo is used for the injection as well as for the absorption of money. So that's not the correct one. So option D is also not correct. Now, the question number 18th. The EASE, that is Enhanced Assess and Service Excellence Reforms Roadmap for PSBs, has evolved through multiple versions. Ease 3.0 focused on tech-enabled ease of banking, right? Ease 4.0, however, committed PSBs to a new theme. What was the central agenda of Ease 4.0? What was the central agenda of Ease 4.0? Focusing primarily on the resolution of NPA, or it was related to tech-enabled simplified collaborative banking, or profitability and customer service, or Udyam Mitra for MSMEs. Which one is the correct answer? So which one would be the correct answer? It is option B, because EASE 4.0 is related to tech-enabled simplified collaborative banking. 24 by 7 banking is required, and it includes a bad bank, etc. So those all the things are covered. So bad bank related to 24 by 7 banking, these points are majorly covered under EASE 4.0. And when we're talking about the resolution of NPS, it is related to 1.0 version. It is related to 1.0. And when we're talking about improving the profitability, asset quality, customer service, that is also the aim of 1.0, right? And Udyam Mitra for MSMEs, that's about the theme under the broader, like is 2.0 or 3.0. These agendas were covered under the 2.0 or 3.0, right? But not under the 4.0, right? Question number 19. The Narsimham Committee 1991 recommendations were a cornerstone of India's liberalization. One of its recommendations was phased reduction in the CRR and SLR. What was the economic rationale behind this recommendation? What was the economic rationale behind this recommendation? That why Narsimham Committee recommended it so as to reduce the SLR and CRR gradually, to increase government control over the bank's loanable funds. Is it so? Let's have a look at it. Option B, depositor safety net, reduced profits and limited lending, rural branch expansion. Which one would be the correct answer? High ratios reduce the profits of the bank and limited the funds available for the lending to the productive sectors, right? So option C is the correct answer. That was a major funda. That was the major thing and major issue, because what the Reserve Bank of India wanted to do, that the more money should be available to the banks, that they can be lending to the productive areas, and also they can be increasing the profitability at the same time, because only then the banking will be lending more, right? So it was recommended by the Narsimham Committee so as to reduce the CRR and SLR. CRR is being maintained under the section 42 of the RBI Act, and SLR is being maintained under section 24 of the Banking Regulation Act, right? Is any kind of interest is paid on SLR and CRR balances? Yes or no? Kindly do answer yes or no. No, the interest is not paid on the balances of CRR or SLR. Now, question number 20th. As per the 2015 guidelines, as per the 2015 guidelines for setting up universal banks in the private sector, an entity led by Mr. Jasprit Bumrah, which is a part of large industrial house, wishes to promote a new bank. What specific restriction applies to this large industrial house? What restriction applies to it? They are not eligible to set up the banks, but they can invest up to 10% in the bank. And they are fully eligible to set up banks provided they have 10 years of experience. They are eligible, but the foreign shareholding in the new bank would be restricted to 49%. They are eligible, but the bank must maintain a minimum net worth of 1000 crore rupees at all the times, double the normal amount. So what would be the answer? What would be the answer? Question number 20th it is. Option A, it says they are not eligible to set up the banks, but they can invest up to 10% in the bank. They are fully eligible to set up the banks provided they have 10 years of experience. They can basically be eligible, but foreign shareholding in their new bank should be restricted to 49%. They're eligible, but the bank must maintain a minimum net worth of 1000 crore rupees. Option A is the correct answer. They are not eligible. They are not allowed, but they can be investing up to 10% of the equity in the bank, but not more than that, right? So option A is the correct answer. Now, question number 21. Under Section 26A of the Banking Regulation Act 1949, banks have a specific obligation regarding the accounts that have been inoperative for the last 10 years. What two actions are mandated by this section and the Section 26? What sections are being mandated? Tell me all about the Section 26. So, we're talking about the Banking Regulation Act 1949 and particularly DEF, that is Depositors Education and Awareness Fund, right? So, Act was actually amended and they inserted Section 26A. Now, that basically empowers Section 26A empowers whom? It empowers Reserve Bank of India that established a fund which is said to be DEF, that is Depositors Education and Awareness Fund. Depositors Education and Awareness Funds. So those accounts which are unclaimed and inoperative for the 10 years or more, the balance must be credited to this fund only, right? And fund would be utilized toward what? For the promotion of the depositors' interest, right? Whatsoever the purposes which are required for the promotions related to the depositors' interest, like which may be specified by the Reserve Bank of India from time to time, that fund will be used only there. Like even after the funds have been transferred to the DEF account, still the person who is entitled, they can be claiming the amount from the bank. And the bank will be refunding the amount upfront and then it will be claiming the amount from the Reserve Bank of India, right? So it's not the case that once it's transferred, you cannot be claiming the amount from the Reserve Bank of India or from the bank itself. You can be claiming the amount from the bank only. No issues in that, right? So let's have a look at the options. The bank must close the account and transfer the funds to Reserve Bank of India General Reserve. Is it so? No, it's not true. The funds are not transferred to the Reserve Bank of India General Reserve. They are earmarked for the DEF account. Submit return and transfer to P&L. The bank must submit a return of these accounts to Reserve Bank of India annually and then transfer the funds to the bank's own profit and loss account. Is it so? No, not done. The funds are not transferred to the bank's P&L account and that will be incorrect. They are transferred to the DEF account. And yearly reporting is to be done. Annual reporting is to be done within 30 days after 31st of December. The reporting is to be done. And what about the option C? Submit, return and transfer to DEF. The bank must submit a return of these accounts to Reserve Bank of India and must be transferring the amounts to DEF. And this deposition is to be done on monthly basis. This deposition must be done on monthly basis because Section 26 requires that the bank must be submitting a return related to all the accounts which have not been operated upon for the last 10 years or inoperative for the last 10 years. The report must be prepared. And Section 26A empowered the Reserve Bank of India for the establishing DEF account where the amount pertaining to these accounts will be transferred, right? So option C is absolutely the correct answer. Option C is the correct answer. Clear? Now, the question number 22nd. Question number 22nd. It says the National Bank for Agriculture and the Rural Development plays a multifaceted role. Which of the following functions best describes the unique position as an apex institution in the rural credit structure? Providing direct loans to the farmers for purchasing of the equipment and seeds. Is it option B, accepting deposits from the general public in rural areas? Option C, offering direct advisory services to multinational corporations investing in Indian culture or agriculture. Option D, providing refinance to institutions like RRBs and the cooperative banks that provide rural credit and inspecting or supervising these banks. So we need to tell that which of the following functions describes a unique position as a apex institution. Only the option D describes the same because being a apex institution, the role is to manage the others, so as to supervise the others, so as to refinance the institutions, right? So option D is the correct answer. So option D is the correct answer, right? Now, question number 23rd. The Maligram Committee, the Maligram Committee 2011 was pivotal in shaping the regulatory framework for microfinance. Right? Given the issues in the MFI sector at the time, what was the committee most significant recommendation that led to a new regulatory structure? The creation of a separate category of NBFC to be designated as NBFC MFI, the nationalization of all private microfinance institutions, merger of all MFIs with the regional rural banks to improve rural credit, the requirement that all microfinance loans must be 100% collateralized. Which one would be the correct answer for this? So the major role recommendation was related to, which was given by Maligram committee, that was related to that we should be creating a separate NBFC category. That is NBFC MFI. So NBFC MFI would be a separate category, right? And that was the magic. That was the recommendation, key recommendation that was given by the Maligram committee. So answer is option A. And it was never said that we should be nationalizing the MFIs or merging with the RRBs or 100% collateralized loans must be there. That's absolutely wrong. Because this is totally opposite for the microfinance definition. Because as per the 2022 framework, right, microfinance loan must be a collateral free loan. It must be a collateral free loan, right? So NBFC MFI is going to be NBFC whose principal business would be related to providing the loan to the microfinance sector, or so as to provide the microfinance loans, right? And what would the key eligibility criteria? First of all, the company must be registered as an NBFI. It must be registered as an NBFI with the Reserve Bank of India. And whatsoever the norms are there for the NBFC MFI, those must be, satisfied, like net on funds, minimum net on funds which are required, right? That must be a point that must be taken care of. And under the master direction, microfinance loan is what? Microfinance loan would be a collateral free loan. जो collateral free loan दिया रहता है ना, जहां पर जो household income है, that should not be exceeding rupees 3 lakh, right? That's the case. That would be the case, right? So now let's move toward the question number 24. It says NBFC managed by Mr. Rohit Sharma wants to be classified as an infrastructure finance company to avail of specific regulatory benefits. To achieve this status, what three mandatory conditions must the company meet simultaneously? What are the three conditions those the company must meet? So you are having the options in front of you. You need to answer accordingly. Kindly do answer earliest. Do answer at the earliest. That what are the conditions for the same? Option 1, it says 50% of the assets in infrastructure NOF is 100 crore, CRAR is 12%. Option B, 75% of the total assets in infrastructure loans, minimum net on funds 300 crores, CRAR of 15%. Option C, 90% of assets in infrastructure NOF 500 crores, CRAR 9%. Option D, 60% of the total assets in infrastructure loans, minimum NOF 100 crore and CRAR of 15%. Which one would have been correct answer? Which one would have been the correct answer for this case? It is option B. Option B will be the correct answer. Because the 3 points which are related to it, that the 75% of the assets must be the infrastructure loans, and minimum net on funds which are required, those must be of 300 crores. And moreover, the CRAR, which is capital risk weight asset ratio, is required to be minimum of 15%. So option B is the criteria that if you want to be classified as IFC, that is infrastructure finance company, then 75, 300, 15 is the rule. Then 75, 300 and 15 is the rule. Clear? Is it clear to you? Right. Now, question number 25. Section 37 of the LIC Act 1956 provides a significant comfort to the policyholders by stating that the sums assured and the bonuses are guaranteed by the central government. However, this sovereign guarantee is not absolute. What specific type of LIC policy is explicitly excluded from this guarantee? What type of LIC policy is excluded? Term insurance policies, endowment policies, whole life policies, or unit linked insurance plans? Which policies are not covered under the guarantee? So it does not apply over the ULIP or the unit linked insurance plan. So ULIP is not covered under the government guarantee for the LIC because ULIPs are investment linked. ULIPs are investment linked, and the risk is to be borne by the policy holder and cannot be guaranteed by the central government. So accordingly, option D will be the correct answer. Now let's move toward the question 26. PFRDA, that is Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority, relies on several intermediaries to manage the national pension scheme system. Which intermediary is specifically responsible for the administration and the record keeping of all the information of the customers and issuing of the PRA? CRA, Central Record Keeping Agency, pension fund managers, point of presence agencies, or trustee bank? Who will be responsible? Who will be responsible for issuing the PRAN and administration and record keeping of all the information of the customers? It is a central record keeping agency which will be responsible for the same. So answer is option A, that the CRA is responsible for administration and the record keeping and all the information of the customers and so as to issue the permanent retirement account number. CRA would be responsible. And pension fund managers are responsible for what? They are responsible for investing and managing the funds because the corpus is also to be managed, na? That is to be invested, right? Pension fund managers are responsible for that. And what is the role of point of presence agencies? Point of presence agencies, those are at the front end who are basically responsible for receiving the applications and so as to collect the contribution from the subscribers. That is a role. And trustee bank is responsible for receiving and transferring the funds between the various entities. So trustee bank is related to it, right? Answer is option A here. Question number 27. The bad bank structure announced by the government involves two entities. The bad bank structure. It involves NARCL and IDRCL. NARCL is National Asset Reconstruction Company and IDRCL is India Debt Resolution Company. How do the ownership and operational rules of these two entities differ? How does the operational rule ownership does differ for the two entities? NARCL, IDRCL, both are owned by PSBs and both perform the functions of acquiring the assets. Is it so? No, these are not correct, right? So option A is not correct. NARCL is private owned and IDRCL is PSB owned. This is oppositely said. This is said oppositely, right? Option C, it says NARCL acquires the assets while IDRCL is the service company responsible for managing and selling those assets. Absolutely correct. In case of NARCL, PSB is having the ownership, 51% ownership. And in case of IDRCL, private owned, 51% is private owned. And IDRCL manages the stuff which is being, purchased by the NARCL. And NARCL is responsible for acquiring the assets, right? So option C is absolutely the correct answer. Option C is absolutely the correct answer, right? Now, let's move toward the question number 28. The Indian financial system comprises both formal and informal systems. Mr. Ravindra Jadeja, a landlord in a village, provides a loan to a farmer. What key characteristic defines the transaction as a part of the informal financial system? The loan is provided for agriculture purpose. It is characterized by the lack of regulation. Now, definitely, if a person has provided the loan, there is no regulation, there is no supervision, there is unstructured procedures. So, definitely, this is the main thing. There is lack of regulation and supervision is there, right? So that is the case, and absolutely the higher interest rate will be charged. Absolutely, the higher interest rate also will be charged, right? So option B is the major difference between the informal loan and the formal lending, right? Question number 29. Banks do provide both the fund-based and the non-fund-based loans. Mohit has answered correctly for the question number 28, right? And question 29, it says banks provide both fund-based and non-fund-based advances. When a bank issues a letter of credit on behalf of an importer, it is non-fund-based facility. How does the bank earn revenue from this? And why is it classified as non-fund-based? See, there are two types of financing. One, it is fund-based, where there is direct outlay of the fund, and when there is no direct outlay of the fund, it is said to be non-fund based, like in the case of the bank guarantee. Now in case of bank guarantee or in case of the letter of credit, an undertaking is being given and not the funds, right? But in case of term loan, in case of CC limit, in case of overdraft limit, the direct outlay of funds is there. So in case of non-fund based facilities, there is a liability, but that liability would be a contingent liability. That liability would be a contingent liability. Whereas in the case of the fund-based facilities, there is a absolute liability the bank is having, right? If there is default, the money is gone, or the bank is to basically recover the amount thereafter, right? So that is the case. Now let's have a look at the options. The bank charges commissions for the service. It is non-fund based because the bank only gives assurance and does not make the actual cash payments. Absolutely correct. Option A is absolutely correct because bank charges commission, right? Bank does charge the commission, and also the bank never pays the amount upfront. There is no direct outlay of the fund. So option A is absolutely correct. Option A is absolutely correct here. Now after that, question number 30th. Section 42 of the RBI Act 1934. Section 42 of the RBI Act 1934 mandates that all the scheduled banks must maintain a cash reserve ratio of the Reserve Bank of India in the form of cash that is to be maintained. Based on the provisions of the Act itself, as described in the document, what are the stipulated minimum and maximum percentage limit for the CRR? Minimum 3%, maximum 15%, minimum 4%, maximum 20%, minimum 0%, maximum 40%. There is no minimum maximum percentage limit for the CRR. Absolutely, option D is the correct answer because there is no limit for the CRR, but definitely there is a limit for SLR. In case of SLR, maximum limit is 40%. Maximum limit is 40%, but not in case of CRR. Is there any interest paid in case of CRR balances? No, no interest is being paid, right? And that is to be maintained in form of cash with the Reserve Bank of India. Whereas in the case of SLR, it is to be maintained either in the form of cash, gold, unencumbered government securities, right? Within India, but not with the Reserve Bank of India particularly, right? And even if you're having a surplus of CRR, that is also to be said to be as a SLR, right? So answer is option D here. So that would be related to this video. I hope that you must have understood the concepts related to it. And if you want the question PDF, you need to WhatsApp me writing module C because there are 60 questions. So module C Q's PDF. You need to WhatsApp me and WhatsApp to the number 83609444207. And other than that, we are having the complete crash course for the JAIIB where all the 4 papers are covered in complete. So you just need to follow the videos and that will be just sufficient so as to clear the exam in first attempt, right? So just go for that video course and the questions pack and that would be it. So that will be all related to this video. Thank you so much and see you again in the next video tomorrow, right? Happy learning.